All right, in this video, I'm going to give you some hints and some kind of tricks to make this a little bit easier for you to make your move the square. So we're going to start off by, I'll do a different shape. I'm not going to do the same canvas size that I've asked for, but I'm going to show a couple different ways, some different code, how to use if statements, else if statements, to just make it a little bit easier, and then also how to make it wrap around, because that's probably the toughest thing in this whole thing is making it wrap actually. So let's start off by, I'm going to do a circle. So in my function draw, just going to use an ellipse. And I want these variables to move. So I'm going to say this is my x, this is my y. And then I'll make one that's 2020. Okay, so I need to define those variables. Oops, sorry, one line up. Okay, so we're going to let x. We'll have that starting in the top right corner. So that's going to be 20. Now, the reason I didn't put 0 is that the circle is from the very center of the circle. So if I go and draw this now, you're going to see, oh, it actually is shifted over a little bit. I'm okay with that. But how it calculates its x, y is from the center of the circle. So like a square is top left normally, circle is center. Now you can change that, but we're going to just leave it as the middle. Okay, so step 1 done. Now we want to make it so that these variables can move. Now before we've been using a key pressed function, but we're going to do this a little bit differently here. So inside the draw function, I'm going to put an if statement. So if, and then what my argument is, and you haven't seen this before, this one is key is down. Now, why I like this one better is key is pressed only happens once, which is great if you're like answering a question, like a multiple choice question, or getting them to type something in. But when I'm having movement across the screen, I want someone to be able to just press the button and it's keep on moving. Now, the other nice thing about this one is I can just type in what I want. So this is my up. I'm going to go key is down, so that key is pressed. We're going to focus on the up and down here. So to make my character go up or my circle go up, I'm going to want the up arrow. So up underscore arrow. Those do have to be capitalized. Okay, and then I have an end. No, sorry, don't want to do that yet. Let's just make sure this part works. And then inside my curly brackets, well, what happens when that occurs? Now this is also a little different what I'm going to show you here. So we have circle, what we've been doing, sorry, is just like y equals y minus 5, which is fine, but there's actually a faster way to do this. And all I have to do here, the equivalent to that is minus equals, so we're taking away from this y variable 5. Done. That's way, way easier. It looks a lot simpler as well. Now you're... Oh, I didn't put a second one. There we go. So that has to be a double bracket here. Okay, there we go. So now we should be able to look. Yep, it goes up. Now the problem is we can't go down at this point. So we're going to have very similar code for going down. So if, again, key is down. And then this time it's going to be my down arrow. Again, all capitals. Make sure you have the double brackets. And again, I'm going to use that trick. So it's going to, now notice I'm indenting one over from the if statement. That's to tell the computer, hey, this is actually part of it. If these brackets do the same thing, but it also makes it easier to read. So again, I could go y equals y plus 5. But a much quicker way to write it is just plus equals 5. Okay, so we're done with that. So let's just check to make sure that works. So I hit the down arrow, it goes down, up arrow goes down, up. Perfect. So that part's done. Now the wrapping part. So before we even get to the wrapping part, looking at how we make these barriers again is probably the easiest thing to do. So I'm going to go into my first one for my up. Let's do the up arrow first. So I'm going to have to make a second argument here. So I'm going to put a space. So our first argument is key is down, which is the up arrow. And then end, I want a second argument. And I want that argument to be that the y has to be less than 0. Now, what that means is this is our 0 here. And sorry, this should be greater than 0. This is our 0. So we want it so that if the circle is above this or below this point, then it will work. And below this point is greater than 0. And as you saw, I was tempting to put the other way. So if I just go up, down, works, and then, oh, yeah, stops. And it shows half the circle because the center of the circle is our XY in this. Now, how does that make it so we can wrap then? Well, what we're going to do, instead of this, so this only is going to let us go to this point. Now what happens if this argument isn't true though? We need a second thing to happen. So I'm going to actually copy and paste this. Oh, sorry, no, I'm not. I'm going to go else if. So else if, meaning if this is not true, it's going to check this argument. So we're going to, most of this is a repeat. So I'm just going to copy this part of the argument. So we still have if the key is down and we're pressing the up arrow. But what if it's the opposite? What if this circle is above 0? Then we want something different to happen. So then we have to put what happens in those curly brackets. And we actually want it to jump down here. So down here, looking at my canvas, is 400. And that's, again, your canvas might be different. Mine is 400. So I'm going to make him jump then to 400. Now it'll give the illusion that it's slowly going across, but really we are jumping. We could make it happen down here as well. But then you got to really worry about where your numbers are. You don't want them fighting back and forth. Okay, so there's my argument. And there's what's going to happen. So we should make sure that that's actually going to work. Why are you angry again? Probably because I didn't put double brackets again. Token. Oh, did I put an extra one of these? Is that the problem? Oh, there we go. All right, so now let's check if that works. And, oh, it stops going. We're going to have to put an equal sign on these just to make it so it can actually go past the points. So if it's greater than or equal or less than or equal. There we go. So now we've got that wrapping, but it only wraps one way. Okay, so now I have to do the other one as well then. So let's take a look at our key is down. So that one's already working, but we need to say another argument here. So the key is down and it's a down arrow. And let's just say, now this is 400 at the bottom. So if it's greater than or equal to 400, or sorry, less than or equal to 400, meaning this y value is it's sitting somewhere around here, because this is 400, over here might be 500, 600. So we want to make sure that this circle is not sitting there. So then let's just again make sure that this is still working. It's not still working. Unexpected token. Oh, I didn't put a variable in front of that. There we go. Okay, so less than. And yeah, it stops right there now. We should still see the wrapping going the other way. Okay, so now we need to put, well, what if that's not true then? So that's going to be our else if statement with our argument. Now our argument again is very similar. It's just the inequality is the opposite. So instead, what if it is actually greater than 400? What do we want to happen? So inside of here, well, now we want the y to jump back up here. We want the y to jump up to 0. And so I should give, again, that illusion of that wrapping effect. And you could, again, fine-tune this a little more by making it happen further off the screen. But I think it looks pretty good how it is. And so now you have this wrapping both ways. Now be aware when you're making these inequalities that if you make one argument inside of the other, so for instance, let's just say I make this jump to a weird spot. Oh no, that shouldn't happen. No, take that back. As long as you've set it up the same way I have it, it should work. All right, is there anything else? Okay, the last thing I want to look at then is what would happen. We have that thing where if the square goes above a certain point, it has some text. So I'm going to show you how to do something like that. I think first it's important to draw a line so we actually understand where our inequality is sitting. So I'm going to draw a line exactly at center. So that is going to be at 0 to 100. So that's our x and our y. And then I want my second point of my line to be somewhere over here. Well, my canvas is 400 wide, and I still want it to be center, so at 200. Again, let's just make sure that works. Yep, so we've got a line now. So what we want is if it crosses this line, so let's just say it's greater than 200. So you can't say like greater than the line, it has to be where the line is sitting. So if our y is greater than 200, then we want something to happen. Well, what I want to happen is I want some text to show up. And I'll say text, and then my string. So I'll say error. And we'll just get it to happen somewhere in the center-ish. So let's say like our x value will be 200 and 300. That should be our y value. Should be somewhere in the center-ish. Again, not perfectly, but I'm not too concerned with that right now. So I go down. Okay, so it's almost at 200. When it crosses this line, it should be 200. Yep, and there's our error showing up. Now, if you're going the other way, all I have to do is change the inequality. So now, when I'm above this line, because my y value up here is less than 200, it's going to show up. But as soon as I go across that error line. Now, again, that's not based on the line. It's based on this value. So if I change this to like 100, you're going to see the error goes away at a different time. It'll go away probably about halfway. Somewhere around here would be 100. Yep, and there you go. So again, it's not based on that line. That line, again, is just an illusion of giving it happening there, but it's actually not from the line itself. So hopefully that helps kind of figure out what the complete the square needs to be. Or sorry, not complete the square. Move the square. And let me know if you have any questions.